if
Okay.
the evidence would, any evidence would change I'd be always willing to look at the evidence.
Yeah.
To see. Yes, I always am open to that. I just don't know that I've seen it in my year. I just don't know that I've seen it.
So first of all, I'm Nate.
I'm Karri.
Karri, how do you spell that, Karri?
Karri.
R-I. Awesome. And so what brings you to the park tonight?
So we have an exchange student living with us from
Awesome.
France, and she just moved here, and so we're kind of showing her Fort Wayne as much as we can, a little bit at a time.
Nice.
So she's in school during the week, and so getting her out, and so she's not just stuck with us inside all the time.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I agree with that plan.
And there's a lot for her to see here, so we're just trying to get her out and see, maybe she wants to do some things, rent kayaks or bike down here or whatever.
Yeah, and have you, is this your first time hosting an exchange student, or?
Oh, I think it's our 4th or 5th.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, we had one from Chile, and we had one from Brazil, and our last one, right before COVID, we had one from Slovakia.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so it's fun.
That does sound really fun. I would think I would like to do that when my kids are a little older. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old right now.
Okay, you got a lot going on.
Right, yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah.
You're super busy.
Yeah, I actually am a teacher. I teach up at high school, a science teacher up there. And so I get the emails about hosting exchanges. I'm like, someday.
Yeah, you know what? That probably isn't the easiest time. You could do it. People do it with little ones, but I think it's nice when you have some kids more their age and they can do things with them too.
Yeah.
My older kids can drive her where she needs to go.
Right. Way more fun that way. It's almost like you get like a little temporary brother or sister and that kind of thing. That's cool.
But it is really fun. And you work with high school kids, so you know they're fun.
They are. They're a lot of fun.
I mean, they're I don't know, lots to talk about and lots of fun things to do. So.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really cool. I think that's really cool what you're doing. And you've doing it 4 times now. That's awesome.
We've done it over the last 10, I want to say 10 years.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty small when we first started doing it. And yeah, it was kind of cool because I remember the kids saying, that first exchange student that lived with us, well, she's just like we are. I said, that's exactly why we do it. She's exactly like
Look at
us.
That. People.
She speaks a different language, but she's just like us. Everybody. If you take the time to get to know, you know how it is.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Well, this is probably why you're doing this. If you get to know people one-on-one, we got a lot in common.
Absolutely. Totally agree. All right. And speaking of why we're doing this, which of those topics did you want to talk about? Or, like I said, you could change your mind too.
About the is there a God one, but I could talk about healthcare too because I'm a nurse.
It's totally up to you.
It ties into
whatever you're more comfortable with, or whatever you kind of feel more strongly about. Either it's all your choice.
I'm gonna focus on healthcare because it is controversial for a lot of people.
Okay.
Because they don't want to be healthy or make healthy choices, and
Okay.
I guess I see that more in my job maybe than you do.
Yeah, my wife is a nurse, so
where does she work?
She works up at.
Okay.
So
you kind of know what she probably has said a lot of the same things I'm going to say.
Okay.
That there's a lot of ownership that people don't want to take. And especially during COVID, I don't know what she did if she worked there during COVID, but there's a lot of things you can control. Like, are you a smoker? Are you? I mean, I'm not judging if you are. I'm just saying that affects your health, your overall health, and your longevity, and your ability to be there for your family. Are you doing drugs? Are you 150 pounds overweight? I mean, all those things. Are you high blood pressure but you're not taking meds? Are you eating a healthy diet? Or do you not care? And you find a lot of people in the hospital are there because they not just had bad luck like they think, but because they made some choices maybe that aren't so great.
Okay. So, I hear a lot of what you're saying, and we can work on this together if you want. If you were to kind of distill that position into like a topic sentence or something for me, like
taking ownership of your health care.
Okay.
I don't know
like,
how else to...
maybe people should take ownership of their health? Is this like a that sort of thing?
If I could at my job give my opinion, I would. but I can't. I mean, I can when people ask me.
Okay.
But you know what? People don't usually ask. And I want to, like, I'm standing there behind my mask thinking, don't say it. Like, and sometimes I have to say it. Like, you got to stop smoking. So, yes, people should take. People would be happier, okay? Maybe that's it.
Sure, yeah.
People would be happier if they took ownership of their health.
All right, so people would be happier if they took ownership of their own health care. All right. And then one of the first things we do when having these sorts of discussions is gauge your confidence that this is true. So, you know, how confident are you that it's true that people would be happier if they took ownership of their health care? And this could be like you can go like 0 to 10 or 0 to 100, or how confident you feel.
I would say if I was going 0 to 10, I would say on a 9. There are some factors that we can't control, but not as many as that we can control. Okay.
So some of those factors that people can't control, you're saying that's maybe making up that 1 out of 10, but for maybe 9 out of 10 cases, maybe, sort of thing. Factors that we can control.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and enlighten me a little bit. What are some of these factors that maybe people... We can start with whichever one you want.
The ones that can't control? Okay,
sure.
Genetics.
Okay.
We all know people who have a genetic predisposition to have high cholesterol, let's say.
Right.
Even though they're marathon runners, they have elevated cholesterol. Can't do anything about that. You're doing everything right.
Familial hypercholesterolemia.
There you go. Yes.
I teach a class where that's one of the labs we do. Okay. Is the genetics of that.
There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You can't. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. You might just have that. You might have a genetic predisposition to sickle cell anemia, or you may have a Parkinson's, or something that you just by the roll of the dice and the genes have to deal with.
Right.
So you can't do anything about that.
Okay. So genetics, one of those factors. Are there any other factors maybe people don't have control over?
Let's say as a kid, what your parents have fed you all those years, the health habits that you were raised with. That can also fall into one you can control later.
For your own children?
For your own children.
Okay. Makes sense.
Accidents, let's say you're walking across the street and you got mowed down by a moped or by one of these scooters.
Yeah, the e-scooter things or whatever, right? Yeah.
That we keep seeing in the ER. People keep coming in, broken ankles. So those accidents, natural disasters, things like that, you can't control a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
So there are things.
Some factors that are outside of people's control, but then there are also, you say, factors we can control, right? And
diet.
What? Okay. Yep.
Activity.
I don't have to write them all down. Diet, activity, yeah.
Whether you smoke, whether you drink in moderation, whether you do drugs, whether you are, do you read? Do you there's a lot of ways, a lot of things you could look at that would be in your control.
Okay. And so, I guess my question here would be: you're at a 9 out of 10, saying that people would be happier if they took ownership of their own health care. And it seems like one of the main reasons that you believe that is that people have more control over their health than they don't. Maybe does that make sense?
Yes. That's exactly it.
Maybe there are more factors, or those factors are stronger than those other things.
More opportunity to have control than to not.
Okay. So I guess we're coming at this a few different ways. Is there something that you could learn, or an experience you could have, or imagine something maybe changing with our knowledge, your knowledge, that would make you potentially less confident that this is true?
Anything's possible. Yes. But because of my day in and day out job, I see people who maybe haven't been able to make the better choices. I'm pretty confident. And it's not just physical health; it's mental health as well.
Yeah, well, happier, right? That was part of the claim, was happier, right?
Yeah, sorry, not just healthier, but happier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if your mental health is better, well, you're already headed in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you telling me that? Yeah, I think you said that anything's possible, but you think it's kind of unlikely that you become less confident in this claim?
Only because I see it every day. It's pretty unlikely.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just wondering, like, if, I don't know, let me spitball here and see if you agree, maybe you don't. If maybe there was new scientific studies in like genetics that came out, and those studies are saying actually your genetics play a much bigger role in your health than we previously thought, would that maybe change your position on that?
Yes. If the evidence would, any evidence would change I'd be always willing to look at the evidence.
Yeah.
To see. Yes, I always am open to that. I just don't know that I've seen it in my year. I just don't know that I've seen it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have. I only see the other end of it where they're unhappy and miserable and putting people on more meds and more antidepressants and I'm not against that.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe trying some other things to get healthy would help their mental state.
Okay. So the evidence is important, though.
Yeah. I'm pretty rational. I'm pretty practical.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would definitely listen to the evidence.
Okay. Just one of those things where, haven't seen it yet, but you're open to it and potentially revise your position if you saw
I would
evidence
absolutely
like
revise. If that evidence came out that really it doesn't matter what you do or don't do, whether what you eat or don't eat, and whether you exercise or you don't, you're kind of set. Your life is set.
Yeah.
Dental care, there's another thing that kind of people are miserable because they're
often overlooked.
Very often overlooked, or maybe people can't afford it. There's a lot of
Right.
reasons.
Yeah.
I just don't want to.
Yeah. Don't want to be judging too harshly, of course,
No.
but yeah, my wife, she works in the surgery department, and they have a lot of like dental surgeries with like young children, like pediatric dental surgery stuff. They have those quite a bit. And she's told me some real horror stories, and
Like
it's
the
sad.
infection, like abscesses or what? Like
Yeah, and just terrible tooth decay, and some really tough stuff. Yeah, so I hear you there. So I guess on the flip side then, is there something you could learn, maybe evidence that you could imagine that would make you even more confident in your claim?
I think I'd still be a 9 because there's always something you can't control. Like, I hate to make a blanket statement that, hey, everybody could be happier. Every single person could be happier if they did A, B, and C, because that's not true. Not every single person would fall in that category. Someone's going to have some type of genetic thing that they had no control over.
So it's applicable to most people, but maybe not everybody kind of thing. So there are those outliers potentially. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask about. Do you feel like you're still at that 9 out of 10? Reflecting back on what we talked about?
I think so. Again, I would be willing to look at anybody who could prove otherwise, though. I mean, but look at us compared to other countries. Look at and if talking about exchange students, everybody that comes and stays for a year, they all gain, 20 pounds? They all gain 20 to 30 pounds, these kids.
Ugh.
And they go home and they immediately...
Not to scare you.
Yeah, and they go home and they immediately lose it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so something...
There's something going on.
There's something going on.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Huh. Yeah, that makes you wonder, what is it about the environment and
Yes, food.
Yeah, well, that's a big one. That's
Eating
definitely a big
out,
one.
All the things. And nobody's perfect.
Right.
But I do find it interesting, like, that we have our own little study at our house after just looking back at it, that all these kids that we've had come here who went home 20 to 30 pounds heavier.
There's some data points. Not a lot of data points, but those are some data points.
Yeah. Maybe, but maybe it makes you think.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So,
well, how do you think this conversation went?
good.
Good.
Yeah, you're an easy guy to talk to.
Well, thank you. I'm aiming to be. Hopefully, I also made you think a little bit and reflect a little bit on the reasons why you hold that position.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, Karri, nice meeting you.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. I have a card here.
Okay.
Like
perfect.
I said, I'm gonna.
And now that I know you work, if this shows up on some porn site, I'm
you'll
tracking you down.
know it. Yeah.
And your face.
You will get me fired,
porn.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, your face will up on a porn site. Okay. Navigate with names.
That's the channel I started. This is my first day out doing interviews, so I don't have any actual interviews up there yet. But I'll hopefully be publishing some here in the next couple weeks.
That's awesome.
So,
good for you.
And then on the back, there's information about what I'm doing here. It's called Street Epistemology, and it's all about